Richard felt sure that the old innkeeper's words about Valle de Sombra were ridiculous superstition. As he followed Danny to the bath, any lingering doubts and fears dissipated completely. His room was luxurious and comfortable, with a roaring fire, velvet curtains, cushioned chairs, and most importantly, a soft and cozy bed for him to sleep in.
You enjoy that bath now, and once you're done, join me for dinner. The dining room's right through there. I'll be waiting.
Richard sank into the tub and felt the tension seep from his body. He lay there until the water began to get cold. Once he had dried off, he found that his stomach was rumbling. He dressed himself and set off for the dining room. When he opened the door, he found Danny sitting at a table loaded with tasty-looking dishes and jugs of wine. As Richard shoveled food into his mouth, Danny reached over and poured him a glass of wine.
Oh, you don't have to do that. I can pour it myself.
Oh, don't I keep saying you're my guest? I gotta keep you happy. After all, you're here to serve me, and I need you to do it right.
What? What do you mean?
I mean, you came all the way out here to help me out, right? With my business.
Oh, yes, that's true. This food is amazing. Your cook is very talented.
I'm glad you like it. We gotta take pleasure where we can find it, in good food and drink and company. No sense in living like a monk. Either of us could drop dead at this table any minute. Here, drink some water.
Thank you. Wait, Mr. DaCosta, aren't you hungry? I've been eating like a pig. I didn't even notice.
Oh, call me Danny, please. Oh, I've already eaten. You go ahead. Have as much as you want.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Oh, I nearly forgot. This is for you, from my boss, Mr. Harris.
Well, give it here. Oh, let's see. To Mr. DaCosta, I offer my sincere apologies for not coming to see you myself. An attack of gout has made it impossible for me to travel, but in my stead I send my most trusted employee to aid you. Richard is honest, hard-working, and trustworthy, and you may gladly put in your faith in him to carry out your wishes. All the best, John Harris. Now, Richard, I'll tell you something. Even without this testimonial, I'd happily put my faith in you. Do you know why?
No, Danny.
Because you've got a good, honest face. Oh, I knew from the moment I saw you, you'd do right by me. And my gut is never wrong.
Well, thank you. Nobody's ever told me something like that before.
Finally full, Richard pushed his plate back. He and Danny kept talking. They spoke about his work, his home in New York, and about his long journey to Valle de Sombra. As he spoke, Danny pulled out a box of cigars and offered him one.
Have one. I promise you've never smoked anything like one of these beauties.
Richard took one of the cigars, lit it, and took a long puff. He watched Danny as he smoked. He was unlike anyone Richard had ever seen, like someone from a different world. His face was as long and lean as the rest of him, with sunken cheeks and a sharp aristocratic nose. His forehead was large, and his eyes were small and close-set, but with an unmistakable blazing intelligence. His teeth were uncommonly sharp, and they gave his face a sense of danger and cruelty. Suddenly, the wolves began to howl again. Richard shifted his gaze to the window.
Listen to those beautiful creatures. Oh, nothing like it. It's the most wonderful sound in the world. You city people, you got no sense of romance. Not like us hunters.
Danny stood up suddenly, as though he'd just remembered something.
It's nearly dawn. I've kept you up for so long with all this chit-chat. You must be exhausted. Oh, go on. Get to bed. I've got some things to take care of during the day, so you sleep as long as you want. We'll meet after sunset.
The second Richard's head hit the pillow, he fell into a deep and dreamless sleep. When he woke, it was already the morning of the 7th. He had slept for more than a day. Richard freshened up and, starving again, set off for the dining room. The table was full of plates and plates of breakfast food, along with a letter.
My friend, I hope you slept well. I'm sure you needed it after all that traveling. I'll be out all day. Don't wait up. Danny.
Despite the faint howling of wolves in the background, Richard enjoyed his breakfast. Once he had finished, he got up from his seat and looked around.
I think I'm almost starting to get used to those damned wolves. I don't see any servants around. There ought to be a bell or something to tell them I'm finished and to clear the table. Oh well, I'm sure they'll get to it. Look at all this beautiful silverware. And these paintings on the walls, even though the outside is so run down. And it's strange. I haven't seen a single mirror in the entire place. Maybe Danny doesn't like looking at himself. But he must have one somewhere for shaving or combing his hair. I wonder if he has any books to read, if I'm to entertain myself. Maybe in this cupboard? Ah! What a collection! There's so many of them in so many languages. This one's in French. Here's one in German and Greek. I wonder if he speaks all of them. He must be awfully well read.
Ah, I see you found my little library. I might look like some dumb hick, but I've made a point to read and travel and learn everything I could.
They're amazing. And I never thought you were a hick or anything.
You know, people around here say things like that all the time, and it doesn't mean anything to me. But when you say it, it matters.
Why?
Well, they ain't really thinking men and women, you know. Not like us. They're more like my subjects.
Your subjects?
I've been down here a long time, Richard. A long, long time. And I've built this place up so that no one will ever have power over me again.
Who could possibly have power over you? This place is so huge and so far away from everything. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to ask. I shouldn't have gone wandering around without your permission. I hope you don't mind me being in here.
Not at all. Go wherever you like. Unless the door's locked. If you want to see what's behind it, you ask me. Understand?
I understand.
Valle de Sombra. It's not like other places, Richard. We've got our own way of doing things. They might seem strange to you, but they're perfectly normal to us. You might find you got questions. Well, that's fine, and I'm more than happy to answer them.
Well, I do have a question, actually. Not about Valle de Sombra, but about something in the desert. When we were driving here, I kept seeing these little blue lights. It seemed almost like they were moving around. They'd be there one moment and gone the next, and the driver kept getting off the carriage and going up to them. And putting these little stones in a circle around them. Why was he doing that, and what were they?
Well, that's an old story. You see, once a year, on the nights that you happen to be traveling through the desert, those blue lights appear where ancient treasures have been buried in the desert. A long time ago, there was a massacre here. Lots of blood spilled, innocent blood. Well, the neighbors hid their gold out in the desert to keep it safe, and then they ran. But they didn't make it far. They were slaughtered, all of them, and the treasures still buried out there waiting for them to return. Those lights are the spirits of those murdered innocents, keeping watch over their property.
But nobody really believes that, do they? Those lights are just some desert phenomenon, and it was such a long time ago. Wouldn't someone have dug it up by now?
People around here believe all kinds of things, and what those spirits will do to those who disturb their treasure.
What? What do they do?
I think we ought to get to it, don't you? You got the map and blueprints.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I left them in my room. I'll go and fetch them.
Richard returned to his room to fetch the map and blueprints of the property. He passed the dining room and noticed that the table was still covered with plates and silverware. As he retrieved the papers and prepared to return to Danny, he heard a crash and ran back down the hall to see what had happened. He approached the dining room and stopped, mouth hanging open in shock.
What? But that's not possible. I was here only a second ago and the table was covered in dishes and silverware, and now it's completely clean? Not a speck? But I haven't seen a single maid or footman, and nobody could possibly clear a table this quickly. What in God's name is going on here?